That is right, everybody. You know what time it is. It is Sunday. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. King's having a little bit of issues there, but as always, it is Doc, King James. We are joined by our wonderful friends from Wandering Spirits of the Pacific Northwest.
Hello, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, where'd James go?
Uh-oh. Gray squirrel down,
Yep.
gray squirrel down.
Also, if he's King James, what does that make Wandering Spirits James? Is he like
Stooge.
Stooge? I was thinking more like Peasant James or something.
Yeah. Hey, don't downgrade me that far.
To be equitable, we have to have all levels of society represented.
I've been telling James that if we're calling him the king of rock and roll. Well, I told him he needs to get a Elvis jumpsuit just for one show.
He needs a cape.
Yeah, there you go.
He doesn't just need the jumpsuit.
And like a Burger King crown.
And a lot of rhinestones on the cape. I'm just saying maybe a bedazzler could be in someone's Christmas future.
And he is not here to defend himself.
Well, he should get a better internet connection.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Uh-oh.
There he is.
I heard that.
Don't talk smack anymore.
Actually, it's my laptop doing a stupid update
Man.
for 20 minutes.
All right, so 20 minutes. So top of the hour, this is season 2, episode 20. We are going to be taking a 2-week hiatus after this. You will see us again on January 5th. Our number one fan says, hi all. Thank you, Tammy. We say hi right back to you. So episode 20, season 2, James is gone again. Of course it's got to be crazy tonight. It just can't be normal.
There he is.
There it is. All right, so we picked out a pretty good topic for the finale.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully my internet holds up because it's doing wackadoodle things. That seems to be the case for the night of things just not wanting to work properly. So we'll just get through it. It's got to be on the final show of the season that everything goes nuts.
Yeah.
Because you're not chaos normally?
Right?
We had the chaos under control for a while.
Oh.
Ah.
It wasn't as chaotic.
Yeah, when was that?
Sheep Squatch.
Okay.
Paranormal Parkour says,
All right. Okay. Good enough. You mean that guy right there?
all right,
Oh, yeah.
that right there, man. Paranormal Parkour says, a DBK podcast without a little chaos. That's all we are is chaos. All right, so this is going to be the final time we ever talk about the following topic. After 7 years, it is going to bed. The case is closed. The file is going to be burned and shredded, probably in that order. Because it is a rabbit hole I don't want to ever go down again. We are talking about today the PIsgah Home Colony. Now, this building is located up in the backwoods of Scappoose, about 8 miles up. Back in June, Wandering Spirits joined us on our finale of being our boots on the ground. Last time we were going to actually set foot up there. Nature is reclaiming it. We are done with it. We are walking away. We are letting everybody, the spirits, the souls, have it to themselves. We are done. But we got to cover some things. First, we're going to talk about the history of this place. And I've got an article here from Skyline Ridge Neighbors. And it was written by Teresa Therud. As always, I'm butchering names.
Hey, join the
Very
party.
you than me.
It's not a DBK podcast unless I'm butchering names and offending some spirit somewhere. All right, so the article says, thus, after raising several orphans and selling their farm in Iowa, the Lawrences came to Oregon in 1909 with their pocketbook full of money. The couple soon integrated into the Weiss and Kenny Baptist Church, where the Reverend Yoakum, one night in June of 1911, opened the basement to feed a few of the consecrated souls. Hattie Lawrence watches the young men carve their spoons from wood for utensils to eat with. The endeavor grew, and a year later, the Reverend Yoakum transferred the program over to the capable hands of Mrs. Lawrence. Hattie had earned the title Mother Lawrence. The few consecrated souls soon increased in number as Mother Lawrence took charge of rescuing Portland's down and out. On the east side, a 2-story home was made for the outcasts. A painted sign was hung, and the PIsgah Home was christened. As the vagabonds found their way into Mother Lawrence's facilities, some found salvation, others found hope. Some struggled to find their way and drifted off. It was of no concern to Hattie. They all needed love and a God in hand. The outcasts of the city were not limited to men. Mother Lawrence purchased a lot not far from the PIsgah Home. With donated lumber and the labor from her boys, as she affectionately referred to with charges, a home was built for the women. The Lawrences used the proceeds from the sale of their Iowa farm to support the endeavor. Hattie was the matron of the PIsgah Home, and her husband Albert took charge as secretary and treasurer. Local cafeteria's help with supplying food, donations of money and clothing. Other necessities would trickle in from time to time. The Corbett estate provided space to store donations to the PIsgah Home, and even the court system would send her contributions by supplying inmates after they sobered up in lieu of more jail time. With the expansion of the PIsgah Home in size and scope, letters of support and gratitude came pouring in from commissioners, judges, the mayor, and even Governor West, who recognized the work of Mother Lawrence and the influence the PIsgah Home had on uplifting the hopeless. From a few consecrated souls eating with carved-out spoons in 1911 to over 6,000 meals served in the first quarter of 1913, the influence of this Iowa couple had on Portland was phenomenal. Barely able to meet the needs of everyone who sought help, Mother Lawrence would turn no one away. In March of 1913, she pleaded to the public for assistance in any form possible. The Oregonian was kind enough to give the PIsgah Home a fair amount of space in the newspaper, listing the plight of the home and the need for donations. Contributions came in many forms, giving aid to Mother Lawrence and her charges. The home was supplied with a few horses and a cart to carry supplies and offerings to the home. A donation of farmland in Lane County was also given, with the understanding the donor's name would remain private. The Chapman Logging Company offered Mrs. Lawrence the opportunity to purchase 640 acres of logged-off hillside outside of Scappoose for $16.25 an acre. The offer was nearly half of the market value. The Lawrences were down to the last little bit of savings as they spent a great deal of their own money taking care of those who sought help. It was by the grace of God they managed to come up with $500 for the initial down payment. The purchase of the acreage was the beginning of a new chapter for the PIsgah Home. Requests for supplies for their new endeavor went out to the public. The list was long and included almost everything one might need to build a home on top of a hillside that had been logged off. A call for lumber, hardware, furniture, blankets, food for animals and humans, all the way to a donkey engine and a shotgun for Brother Casey. The long wish list was posted in the Oregonian for all to read. It was late in December of 1914 when Mother Lawrence and her band of wayward souls made their way to Union train station. 7 railroad cars were loaded with men, a handful of women, supplies, lumber, nearly everything they owned in the dead of winter. Now, we all drove up there, and these people are going up in the dead of winter, transporting all this stuff.
Crazy.
Now, when we were driving up, we were talking about how bad the road was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't even
All right,
imagine.
so they pulled out of the train station on the Portland-Astoria line. The passengers would have seen the swollen Willamette running towards the Columbia as the tributaries full of rainwater fed the mighty river. A short stop at the Claremont Tavern with her wide verandas, sweeping views, and a string of power poles lining Linton Road may have been on the agenda to disembark the patrons of the infamous tavern. I'm going to stop right there for just a second. So these people are trying to dry out, sober out, and we're stopping at a tavern on the way to our new home?
I was thinking the same thing.
One last hurrah.
I guess. Hopefully the internet holds up. Everybody, hopefully it's working on your end. Onward, the PIsgah Colony traveled, their destination, the remote hills above Scappoose, far from the convenience and vices of the big city. Pulling in a Scappoose, they were greeted with torrential rain and a few volunteers from the logging company. Loading the supplies, the trip up the remote, muddy logging road was shorter than the experience Lewis and Clark had when they traveled to Astoria in 1805. Other than transportation on a mucked-up logging road, the band of weary travelers had no idea what to expect, nor did they have any idea where they were headed other than to follow their guides. Mother Lawrence took a whole bunch of people up a big muddy hill in the dead of winter to die. I wonder if her real name was Patty Donner.
Wow.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder, like, why would they decide to do that in December
Yeah.
of all times?
Why? Yeah. Why would you want to go up in December up that road? We went in June, and the road was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not good.
And it was dry. It was dry.
Yeah.
All right. Little idea where they were getting into, other than a handful of dreams of nation, pressing to the outer edges of civilization in driving rain. The first line of business was to build a shelter. So we haven't even built a shelter. We've gone up into the hills. It's raining. It's winter. It's cold. We don't even have a shelter built. Wow.
Yeah, it seems like there could have been better planning.
All right, boys, load up. We got to go. All right. I bet the place is really nice.
Well, it's not like they
now
were
we need to build
crossing
a
Great Plains. You know, they were going from Portland to Scappoose.
A wagon laden with lumber was unloaded and makeshift shelters were hastily put up. Mother Lawrence sketched out an outline of a 20 by 40 foot two-story building with a lean-to kitchen to one side. The boys went to work. Pathfinder's Hall was the first of many permanent buildings erected in what is now known as the PIsgah Home Colony. We throw that picture up and see what it gives us. Boo! Hang on, James. I'll get rid of the history portion so we can actually see you. All right. So the year following the move to the West Hill above Scappoose, the colony suffered a blow when a cafeteria closed in Portland, one of the main sources for the colony's food supply. A call went to the public. There was little food and certainly not enough to feed all the colony, nor was there enough available work for these capable of working. Hattie's boy needed good paying jobs rather than toiling around the farm. Spring turned into summer, and the colony yet again was in need of more supplies. The gardens they planted were founded by the local wildlife, who turned it into a smorgasbord, leaving little for human consumption. In addition to the needed supplies to perform work in the gardens, the inmates, their word, not mine.
Now it's a jail.
You're using inmate. The inmates were in dire need of shoes and clothing. By late October that year, 1915, the colony was facing winter with the prospect of caring for a greater number of people, along with payments due on the deaths that had been incurred. The citizens of Portland, eager to help the PIsgah Home, set up a camp in various locations throughout the city, including the Blue Room of the Portland Hotel. On the day given to the PIsgah Home for fundraising, March 2nd, 1916, women and young girls braved the Oregon rain soliciting donations. Due to the wet weather, the little band of discouraged solicitors entered the day with little to show for all their hard work. Tag Day, as it had become, was extended another day because of the poor turnout. The young ladies sold primroses as a token of appreciation for donations made, and thus earned the nickname the Primrose Girls. Still pressing on in the spring of 1916, Mother Lawrence was ready to put the home colony into the chicken raising business. She once again turned to the Oregonian for help, soliciting the public for assistance, looking for the use of an incubator. The farm was also in need of a harness and an anvil. The colony struggled and yet seemed capable of overcoming the tremendous odds they faced each day in their endeavor to survive. Mother Lawrence was at the helm with her strength and commitment to her charges. Getting sick was not an option, but when one places so much of one's energy into such a project as running a home for those who were not able to help themselves in the middle of a wilderness far removed from the convenience of town, eventually all the expenditure of time and energy will catch up. Because Hattie was plagued with pneumonia, she was unable to fully participate in the day-to-day administration of the home, and donations fell to the point where none came in to help support the colony. Ill and having destitute people depending upon her, Mother Lawrence turned to her most ardent supporter, the Oregonian. Hattie contracted pneumonia about the same time the U.S. joined in the war that was raging on in Europe. Men and boys enlisted, leaving families behind. The Red Cross solicited Mother Lawrence to help care for the elderly mothers of the enlisted men who had no means of caring for themselves. The colony grew and buildings were added to growing concern, isolated far from the town. The need for supplies and help continued to expand. Then came the storm of 1919, paralyzing the region with snow covering the ground not in inches but measured by the feet, causing electrical outages and delayed travel times. Mother Lawrence was confined to a limited area with no means of gathering the needed donations and supplies. With the administration of the home falling on her shoulders and no one else to help solicit donations for the colony, supplies quickly ran short. To add insult to injury, the Red Cross demanded the installation of a heating plant to the Woodmere Old People's Home, which was added to the list of Mother Lawrence's charges during the war. Again, she turned to the Oregonian, pleading for his assistance from the public. In February 1920, the pastors of Portland took heart by dedicating their services to the old folks taking refuge at the PIsgah Home Colony. Celebrations all over the city, which included concerts, theater, shared memories of long ago, and other activities were planned for 8 days. One week had the ambitious goal of raising $35,000. The celebrations throughout the city brought in a substantial amount of contributions towards the Old People's Home. For Hattie, the consequences of growing old hit home May 21st, 1920. Albert Lawrence was on the corner of East 39th and Hawthorne when he suffered a fatal heart attack. Hattie lost her life partner, and the colony lost one of the most ardent supporters. Hattie continued to advocate for the PIsgah Home and the Woodmere Home for the Aged. In December 1920, Tag Day was drawing help from some of Portland's most prominent citizens. Mrs. R.E. Bondurant, president of Albertina Care Nursery, and W.G. McLaren, superintendent of the Pacific Coast Rescue and Protective Society, donated their time and energy to help Mother Lawrence's cause. It was a constant battle funding the many facets of Mother Lawrence's endeavors. In 1921, Portland was experiencing an unemployment problem. With overflowing jails, the best way for municipal authorities to deal with the vagrants was to send them to the PIsgah Home. Hey, guess what? You don't have a job. You're not doing what we want you to do, and you're just sitting around. Guess where you're going? Taxing the already stretched resources of the PIsgah Colony, the city found a way to relieve itself of the burden of having to care for the young men. With Judge Rosenman sending young men who could not find work to the PIsgah Colony, he was stretching the ability of Mother Lawrence to care for so many charges under her wing. She pleaded with the city council for help. Commissioner Barber was firm in his belief that the city had no jurisdiction over a colony colony of vagrants in Columbia County. Supporting that belief was Commissioner Bigelow, who was not in favor of monetary donation. Commissioner Mann was ready to put the young men to work on the rock pile. Hattie had her hands full as she stood up to the commissioner's narrow view of the situation. She explained that the young men the city was sending her were upright citizens, far different than the charges she had collected in the past. With high unemployment rate, these young men had little hope for productive industry. If no work was provided, they had a greater chance of turning to other means of support. Crime! Mayor Baker inclined to agree with Hattie, deferring any action until the commissioners had a chance to discuss the situation with Judge Roseman. The meeting was adjourned with Mayor Baker inviting the commissioners to meet with the judge the following day. Hattie left with mixed emotions, unsure of the final outcome. The colony struggled to survive, but with the determination and the grit that Mother Lawrence instilled in her charges, they eked out a living, surviving the Great War and the Great Depression. What the PIsgah Home Colony did not survive was the death of its most ardent supporter, Mother Lawrence. Hattie was struck by an automobile while crossing the street in 1937 in Portland. The fatal blow reverberated in so many ways impossible to imagine. With the building being abandoned after her death and vandalized over the years, what little remained gave way to a fire no more than 20 years later. The only remaining testament to Mother Lawrence and her endeavors is the long, winding road shaded by overgrown trees. Should you travel the PIsgah Home Road with all its twists and turns to the PIsgah Home Cemetery, slow down long enough to take in the surroundings and give homage to a remarkable lady who offered herself so selflessly to orphans in society, young and old. We're just going to pop that little picture up right there. Boom. Mother Hattie Lawrence.
Yeah, no.
Do we know what age this is? It's got to be around the time of her death, I would think.
It's not a DBK party without technical issues and dogs standing on cords.
That's just a regular day in my house.
Yeah, here too.
I'm like, I can no longer hear anything.
Uh-oh.
So we're gonna take Hattie away, so we get all of our smiling faces. So that was the history. The conspiracy. I'll drop that back out. We don't need that up there for the whole time. Now then, I've been exploring this thing for 7 long years. It first came to me when our local Facebook community group, somebody had gone up and asked about it, and the Historical Society posted a whole bunch of stuff on it. I looked at that. I was like, all right, cool. It's some, it's up in the backwoods of Scappoose. We can go up. We can do some looking around. This would be kind of cool.
Right.
3 days later, my mom, out of the blue, turns to me and says, I went up there. What are you talking about, Mom? PIsgah Home. All right, I didn't mention PIsgah Home, but this is weird. She goes, yeah, we went up in 55 and we went inside. All the windows were still up. And everything in the house looked as if it was just, you got up in the morning, you set the tables. There were still silverware, plates, cups. It looks like they were ready to go for lunch. There were still clothes on the edge of all the beds. There was still medication set up. There were books, personal belongings all set up. So what the article says is after Hattie Lawrence dies, everybody they're integrated back into Portland. But with more research, I have discovered that that's not the case. She had made a deal with the city of Portland. So that time that she was talking to the judge and the commissioner and the mayor and everybody else, there was a deal on the table. Portland would pay her $1,800 a month to take everybody. And upon her death, that money would stop. So the city, once she dies, they're not having to pay for anything anymore. Mm. Now, if we look at the PIsgah Home Colony as a business, you would normally, once a business closes, you would take everything out. Important log books, your attendance roll, who lived, who died, how much money you had coming in, everything else like that. Now, the interesting thing is, 4 years ago, one of the ladies in St. Helens was cleaning out her parents' attic. And what she happened to have found was logbooks that she had actually taken from PIsgah Home. Her and her parents actually went inside and she grabbed 5 logbooks out of 9. She said there were 9 big books up on the shelf in the office. They took 5 of those books. In those books were the attendance, so who was there. There was who had died, where people were moved to, who was coming in, who was going out, how much money was being paid, how much money was going everywhere. So if you're folding a business, you want to kind of keep that all with you so you can vouch for it and go, yes, this is where all the money's going. Especially if you got $1,800 a month coming in the 20s and the 30s. Mm-hmm. So I know, wondering if you guys went to Edgefield. No, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Edgefield, which was a poor farm. It was about the same deal. And I know you guys are really going down that rabbit hole. So, yeah. I mean, before we move on with the controversy of the PIsgah Home, what would be your take on these type of places?
In general, I mean, the quality of life in these places really depended heavily upon who was running them. They could be vastly different. I was kind of laughing when you were reading the part about inmates, because it seems fairly typical that the residents of these places were referred to as inmates. And one of the things that we've seen again and again as we've researched places like poor farms, cemeteries, just all of those sorts of things in general, is that the view toward people, not even just the ones who just came out of jail or were addicts or whatever, but there was very much this kind of view of the poor people as being lesser and not worth taking care to treat them respectfully, treat their remains respectfully, right? One of the things we talk about sometimes is, and I always screw up the name, it's either Seaview or Ocean View Cemetery out by Fort Stevens. And there's the story there where basically the paupers' graves were not marked very well. They were dug up accidentally. A lot of bones were moved and taken and lost, and just horrible things that you would never imagine could happen in a modern cemetery. And from most of what I've seen, the attitude towards them being lost was just kind of like,
meh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm starting with the research we've been doing lately to get really interested in kind of the intersection of places like PIsgah, and then Multnomah County Poor Farm, and then Skyview, I believe it was called, up in the West Hills, which was the predecessor to Multnomah County Poor Farm, and sat kind of where like Hoyt Arboretum is and the zoo. And learning that there were people buried up there as well. And that when they were doing building and renovations and stuff like that to create the zoo, sometimes they would run into bones and stuff like that as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I always thought it was interesting, and Martina and I were talking about this, that once the deal that when Hattie died, and I think, obviously she died very unexpectedly, that everything just stopped. Like, but what about the people that were up there, right? That relied on, probably some food delivery. I know they were pretty self-sustaining, but still some food delivery, some sort of medical care, probably very limited, but something. She didn't make any kind of provision that, okay, you shut it down over like a year or 6 months even.
Yeah.
That the payments just stopped. That was odd to me and Martina too.
Yeah. The other thing that just occurred to me
Yeah,
too. Oh, sorry. I think I have a little bit of a lag, so
No.
I'm interrupting.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking about the record keeping too. Another thing that I remember reading as I've been researching these places is just like the treatment of people varied really depending upon who was running it, the quality of the records.
Yeah.
Also, some places were more meticulous. Some of them may or may not have listed who lived there or where they were buried or any of that stuff.
Yeah. Even the prison system was like that back then. They just, records weren't real great.
Uh-oh. We lost James.
James bombed out.
He'll come back.
There he is.
He's back.
I'm back.
It's always got to be chaos somehow, somewhere.
Absolutely. All right.
Well, I know with going through all the records and going and talking to the Historical Society, when you go through all the old newspapers and you can start charting all this down, at the beginning, you've got people going up and interview her, and she's got that, the old farmer's wife apron, and looks real plain, kind of like thinking, Midwest farmer style. I found one article where she's got her little cabin off to one side, and it's just a small little cabin. Yeah, so we live over here in this small little cabin, and we're up here all the time, and every time that the newspaper's coming up and taking pictures, they've got everybody out, chopping wood, cooking food. Oh, what's it like being up here? Oh, it's great. We love being up here. It is beautiful. Yet it's Donner Party time. It's Donner Party part 2. Because you can't have a lot of provisions. So my conspiracy theory is, and this starts getting based off of family interviews the Historical Society here in Columbia County did. The granddaughter of Mother Lawrence went on record stating Grandma never lived up in the hills. Grandma and Grandpa lived in Portland. So with Hattie doing all this, oh, this is my little log cabin, and I just live up here, and we're salt to the earth, and we're getting $1,800. You start looking at it going, okay, if you continue to go through the newspapers, and it's a rabbit hole that I need to get out of. There is. Once upon a time, Portland, Oregon, and all their newspapers would put all their charitable donations. So you got that $1,800 a month. So 2016. 1916, they cut off, the city cut them off. So no, we're not gonna fund you anymore. 1921 is when they got their funding back. And that was where she made the stipulation. If I die, you can cut off everything. What you also find in these logbooks and these are on display down at the Historical Society, is they start moving people around. So there was the Broadmoor. Pull that up real quick. So there was three. She had three homes. This was the PIsgah Old People's Home. Woodmere. Woodmere was the place that you would show off everybody. So after a while, nobody's going up to PIsgah Colony. They're going out to PIsgah Old People's Home for photos, interviews. Well, the logbooks that were recovered and given to the Historical Society actually states so-and-so John Smith was moved from the colony to the Woodmere home. And then like a month later, he's moved back up. So what I'm seeing myself is she's changing people around. Okay, we're going to take the lowest of the low, keep them up on the hill, keep them just shuttled away so we don't have to see them, rehabilitate some people, bring them down to the one house where you get your own room. Because this is, in a home colony, it is 50, 60 beds on the floor.
Wow.
You're sharing one giant room with everybody else. What I'm also seeing is the fact that she says that every man has to go up and work the farm. So like after the war, the caretaker at that point, I forget what his name is, and I lost that piece of evidence in my move. He was the caretaker. Well, he fought in World War I, lost his left leg. And so everybody would talk about, that was doing interviews and such, would talk about, you could hear him coming down that staircase into the lower kitchen. Because it was always that thump of his cane.
Nope.
And apparently he was, according to the granddaughter, who again, she went on record and, swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So, oh yeah, he was the caretaker. He took it. He ran the whole place. Mother Lawrence showed up and made appearances. I have found pictures that the Oregon Historical Society had loaned to me. I can't show them because my contract with them ran out and I can't show those anymore. That was 4 years ago. I got all that stuff. But it's a picture of Mother Lawrence at a fine women's retreat with a very fancy ball gown and the big wide hat and the big feathers, and very much high-class society. It's what my entire concept is you go, like I said, again, you go back to the papers and you see a trend. You see that Portland is giving all this money out a month. They're also just basically, hey, shuttle all these guys up. We don't like those guys. They're unemployed. They're not working. Get them out of here. We'll keep paying you a month. Just get everybody out. So you got the PIsgah Home Colony, which is just being crammed with people. They did actually do outbuildings, but those were basically listen, we will give you this little partial, but you're going to work it. You're going to build your own home. You're going to farm. Then you're going to come up to the main house and you're going to do an 8-hour shift over here. So, I mean, even if you were in the war and you lost a leg or two legs, maybe an arm, you were still expected you're going to do an 8-hour day.
That was pretty
you're going
typical.
to put in the work before you get good. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. It's Mother Lawrence is so celebrated, and as I'm digging, I'm just getting more and more upset. And
it's funny.
Go ahead.
Sorry, it's funny what you're explaining. sounds like the current day foster care system in this country and in this state. And we were foster parents for 10 years, minus the hard labor part. But yeah, you'd show off your prime people or kids that you rehabilitated or saved, or we were foster parents for 10 years, and we worked with high risk teens. But it just, as you were talking about that, just kind of moving people around, they move these kids around, they move them to different programs. It's kind of the same thing. So I think that's not a new or an old concept. I think that's been a concept for many, many years of you show off your best and brightest, right? And then everybody else just kind of gets forgotten or used up or, whatever. So.
Yeah.
And the same in that situation,
Well, too, I think, because, you can tell from, the language in some of these articles, they're looking at these people as being kind of unwanted, outcasts, derelicts, all of these things. And nobody wants to donate money to, well, we took this outcast derelict guy and he's still really kind of a mess. We haven't done anything for him. So I can kind of see, like, from as horrible as it sounds, like a kind of PR marketing standpoint, that they're like trotting out the ones like, look, this is our success story. This is where your dollars go. You donated, and look, Johnny performed himself.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I know that Mother Lawrence also had her own little charity set up where they were running a lot of, we're here's a fundraiser, we're going to do this. As you're reading all these newspapers and you're going through the years, she's always putting it out there of, hey, everybody, we need a Thanksgiving dinner for my boys up on the hill. Can you donate? Hey, everybody, we need tents. Can you donate? But then you're looking at the financials and it's like, wait a minute, you're wanting donations, tents, clothing, razors, turkey dinners. Okay, well, aren't you supposed to be raising your own animals in your farm? And, where's this 1,800 in 1928 going?
Which was not a small amount of money back then.
No.
Do you think she was pocketing it, or was she redistributing it to the other homes, or what's kind of your theory on that? I'm interested.
My theory is that she was sinking the money into some of it in her own pocket, and some into the Woodmere house, the show houses, showrooms.
Yep. That's what I was getting at. Yep.
Because the pictures you get from the showrooms are everybody has their own private bedroom. Yep. They have a bed that they don't have to share with anybody else.
Yeah.
They got their own bathroom. It's like, we have big meals together. PIsgah Home Colony, it was a cattle call.
Yeah, right.
The area that we were in, the ground floor, was actually the old kitchen area. So you go out, you have, probably ring the bell for, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's what you did. All right, come on down. Here's your food. All right, get out there and go to work. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, what I see is her own family members, well after she died, are saying, oh yeah, she had a big house in Portland. She didn't ever live up there. She didn't like it. She thought it was too dirty. So it's like, is she saving people, or is she just trying to put herself in a better situation? And it seems to be that what happens is, after her husband has that heart attack, that everything really has the uptick for, I need donations. I need money. My Primrose girls are out there every single weekend, and they're, they were going out with the limit of $5,000 a weekend, just trying to make $5,000 in a weekend.
Wow.
So I mean, I can't find the financials on the Primrose Girls. I just have what they say is, oh yeah, they went out, they made some money, but we're not going to tell you how much it is. I mean, there's even articles where Mother Lawrence is going on saying, listen, the only people that can accept money is myself. So anytime there's a fundraiser, she's going, no, you don't give the money to anyone but me. And this was in the Oregonian in 1923. It was November. They were having a big Thanksgiving fundraiser, and she put it right in there.
Wow.
That to whom it may concern, I will be the only one accepting donations for the PIsgah Home Colony. So, benefit of the doubt, because we're always going to play benefit of the doubt. We're going to play both sides of the coin here. Maybe somebody else took a donation, and the money was rightfully supposed to go to PIsgah Home Colony.
Yeah.
The woman's dead. We can't go and ask her. We can't put her on trial. But the more that I look into it, I think this was a way to get rid of the filth on Portland, to make the streets safe, presentable. I think Mother Lawrence, I think she had an ulterior motive.
Well,
I don't know.
It's funny. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
It's funny you say we couldn't go and ask her, because Martina and I actually found her grave.
Yeah.
And her husband's grave, Albert. They're up there in Lincoln Park Memorial. And Martina asked her, I mean, politely, right? Respectfully.
Right.
But
why not if we're there already?
Right. Yeah. Right. Like, hey, what, we didn't get any answer. I listened to the recorder. There were some weird noises, but we didn't get any answer. But, we did find her grave, and we did attempt to ask, what was the deal. But yeah, something's not right there. Like you're saying, I think something's a little off there.
Yeah, Steve, if I went to her grave, I'd probably bring a whole super soaker full of holy water and just be hosing it down. I'm not saying I would waterboard a corpse.
It's under a bush.
Messy.
It needs to be cleaned up.
Like Alfred, whatever his name was, his is completely grown over by this big bush. And hers is really hard to find as well, because it's kind of half covered by it. So, yeah, one of the things all of our hanging out in cemeteries has really taught me is that cemeteries around here are in a sad state a lot of the time.
Well, maybe... No, I don't want to say that. I was going to say maybe we ought to dig her up and waterboard her with holy water and be like, what is the deal?
Darren, come on.
Hey, somebody has to cross that line. You know me. You know how I feel about the woman.
Yeah.
Maybe she started out with great intention.
So we got through the conspiracy theory of... Well, I mean, she was just a poor farmer girl from Iowa.
Yeah.
My entire 2 cents on it is her and her husband came from Iowa. They set this up. They found that they were good at talking and started out helping out people. And then more people came in, and then the city was giving them money, and then they were getting donations and money.
Yep.
Yep. I don't want to live up on a hillside in the dead of winter where it's 8 miles of yuck road.
Right.
But that's my 2 cents, is that I
Mm-hmm.
personally feel as if she took a lot of money with her. A lot of what she said was a lie. I think she shuffled men back and forth as she saw fit as commodities. I'll leave my 2 cents about the Primrose Girls behind.
Were any of her kids like? Because I know they had apparently adopted a lot of kids. Did they have any kids that were like actually biologically theirs?
I have not been able to find anything on that one. It just says kids. The Historical Society said, "Oh yeah, this was her granddaughter." It's like, what they adopted. Is this a adopted? Right. Is it a natural? I mean, nobody seems to know because nobody's talking. Nobody wants to divulge any more into it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like 1937. I mean, her kids could still be around. I mean, they'd be elderly, but they could still be around. My mom was born in 1938, so it seems like there could be kids or grandkids around. It's interesting that they've just sort of faded away.
Yeah. Just like my internet. Everybody blacked out for a second there.
Oh, we're here.
But hey, what is it? What is Unleashed without a few technical difficulties?
Right.
No, I looked.
I think the thing to take away from.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I looked to see if she had natural children too, and I couldn't find anything just about her adopted kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, PIsgah is one of those places where more and more people have come out of the woodwork and said, this is going on. Now, 5 years ago, we went up there, and James was the king was up there, and if Bill was here, he would tell a story.
Right.
But no, we had. Well, that's all right. You got far better pants now.
Shit.
That's right.
You had to go there.
Yep.
I remember now.
No, don't.
Had been done. So, as we're researching all this, that's now we're going to go with the aftermath. So my mom went up there in 55, somewhere after 55. The hillside caught on fire and everything burned down. So up until that point, people would go in and they would say it looked like everybody had just left for the day. Clothes were still on the foot of beds, medication, kitchen table was still set for, silverware and plates. When my mom was up there, she said, yeah, there weren't any windows busted out. There wasn't a lot of graffiti. It was it literally looked like they had woken up, set the table, gotten everything ready for lunch, and then gone out in the fields to go to work. She was like, I could have expected someone to walk in the door after us and go, hey, what you doing in my house?
Wow.
So the money's cut off. Mother Lawrence is dead. She is deceased, unalived, whatever word you want to use. Funding is cut off. Nobody knows when people gave up and left. Now, a lot of the articles say, oh, yeah, we transitioned them back into society when all the logbooks were still up to date till 1959. People were still being buried up in the cemetery in 1938. So she died in 37. Wow. There were still people being buried in 38 and 39. Wow. So somewhere along the line, these men decided we're out, we're gone. grab what you can, and we're out. Did they do the long walk? Did they get a car? We don't know. They just up and left. Which left the whole conspiracy theory of what happened at Pisgah. Now, what drew our attention to Pisgah was I ran into a buddy of mine who's a hunter, and he was up there hunting one day. And he said, yeah, it was early morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, and we know how desolate it is up there. Mm-hmm. And he heard a woman calling. So he looked over into where the basement used to be. And he said, there was just a shadowy figure of a woman standing there, calling out to me like some siren of the sea. And I'm like, well, what'd you do? And he said, I didn't do nothing. I got back in my truck. I don't need a deer that bad.
Yeah.
So that's where we went up the first time, and we got a lot of good stuff on the spirit box. I mean, we found a lot of weird things, like we found a piece of quartz on a stump.
Yeah.
Just randomly placed quartz on a stump. It wasn't melted glass. It was quartz. So it's like, where's this quartz coming from? Who came up and put a piece of quartz on a stump? This is weird. One of the guys in our party actually said he had heard a woman calling out.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't see a shadowy figure. We were looking around, but yeah, he was like, yeah, I could hear a woman calling. And I'm like, well, there are no ladies with us. It is all men on this trip. So unless somebody has slipped and fallen on a branch and racked themselves, there are no high voices today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this place is also, it's up above the Blue Gate, which we've had the Dogman encounter. We've had multiple Bigfoot encounters. So, I mean, if we put on our tinfoil hats for a second, which we don't have, which we probably should some of these days.
You're giving me some
Ken,
warning.
you're in charge of the tinfoil hats. I just thought of it. So here's the conspiracy theory rabbit hole tinfoil hat theory of the night. What if these men are left up on the hillside all by themselves? No way to get down, no way to get up, no supplies coming in, and they're being attacked by dogmen, maybe Bigfoot, a lot of scary things up in those hills, and they decide one day, you know what, screw it, we're out of here as quickly as we can. Thus, why they left: logbooks, medication, personal effects. Maybe the ghost of the woman is actually some sort of demonic creature that's just haunting the place looking for souls. Maybe it's UFOs. Or I'm just going down the rabbit hole of, hey, why not?
Up there, who knows, Always keep an open mind. I will tell you.
I know that it took us a few years.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Darren, go ahead, Doc.
All right. I do know we actually ended up finding the cemetery after a few years. We were told the wrong location a few times. There's really nothing left of the cemetery. They built their own headstones out of wood. Mm-hmm. And then when the fire came through, it burned all that down, and then everything that was remaining got logged out. But we finally discovered where it is. So next year we're going to go and we're going to find it again and have a good time with it.
Nice.
So you're just done with the colony house, not the cemetery.
No, because next to the cemetery is where we found a Bigfoot nest.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, I just need to be done with the home.
Gotcha.
This is going on long enough. And I got to quit looking into it. I got to quit researching it. I got other things I want to do, other things I want to look into. And the more I read about Mother Lawrence, like I said before, the more upset I get because when we were up there the last time in June and we were doing our final farewell to boots on the ground investigations, we poured out an alcoholic beverage. We left some tobacco because none of those guys were given alcohol. They weren't allowed to smoke. It was a clean break, straight edge lifestyle. So we probably pissed off the guardian spirit. We probably pissed off Mother Lawrence, but we left it. We said a few nice words. You said a nice prayer, James. And that was emotional because, these guys were just literally left to their own devices.
Yeah.
And now with the whole area being grown up, and it was hard for us to figure out where it is. The trees are so much bigger. I just feel that close out 2024, walk away from PIsgah altogether, let the dead lie.
Yep.
And then when we're up there to the cemetery, maybe we'll. But
yeah, I was gonna say, when we did our podcast episode about it, I really felt when we left there that was good closure right there. They don't want to be forgotten, but they don't want to be bothered anymore. They want to rest and they want to be left alone. And I felt like that closing, ceremony or offering that we did, that was it, right? They don't want to be bothered anymore. Don't forget them, but don't bother them.
Yeah, it's time. I know other people have asked me, can you tell us where to go to get to this place? And I'm like, you know what? No. I'll tell you in about 6 more years. Yeah, let them be. Yeah, I'll tell you in 6 more years, and you'll never find the place.
Right?
It'll be so overgrown.
Yeah.
It's almost gone.
Yeah, nature has really reclaimed a lot of it, and I don't know. It was an emotional time. Just to go up one more time and just be like, listen, here's some tobacco, here's some alcohol. Pour out a 40 for the homies.
Yep.
And just kind of walk away from it.
Yep. So let them be.
But no, we're hopefully going to take you guys up to the cemetery so we can check that place out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that was definitely, I think, one of the most impactful places that we visited that sort of stuck with us.
Absolutely.
There is kind of a heaviness there.
Yeah, so finish out season 2, wrap up episode 20, hit something that means a lot to us. I know James, the good king, besides Sheep Squatch, I know you were emotional about our final time up there too.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Just like anything, you go and investigate. You want to do everything justice and, give it its proper respect that's due,
Absolutely.
And like when we were there at that time, everything, James did and everybody, I think, it gave the closure, like you said, it needed.
Yep. Be at peace, my friends. That's really what
absolutely.
It was.
We've got other things to worry about. We've got Dogman to run away from, chase down, internet to fix.
Yeah.
Hang on, I gotta go get some tinfoil.
Peasant James has to make a trip to Costco for tinfoil.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Walmart tinfoil won't do. You got to get the heavy duty Costco stuff.
You want the good stuff. The thin does not protect you from rays nearly as well.
Yeah.
On that note, because I don't think we can beat that note.
No, you can't.
As we said at the beginning of the hour, we are off for 2 weeks. We will see everybody January 5th, season 3, episode 1. 3 times the craziness, 3 times the chaos. This is Doc.
Oh yeah.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
absolutely.